Okay, we're live now. Let me check if we're live everywhere. Yep, all good. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our deep dive stream on Mastering Networking in Sales. For those who are watching or listening to us the first time, deep dive streams are focused on helping young entrepreneurs overcome their business challenges. As always, we have our leading networking and marketing expert, Victor Nichols. And today we have two amazing guests, founders of Interlix Staffing, Sebastian Paredes and Sheikha Alatabi. For everyone who wants to be a guest on our streams to talk about their business challenges and who wants to find new solutions, new ideas, please email us at vmn@victormnichols.com. And if you are watching us right now and if you have questions during the stream, please don't hesitate to ask. Comment in this comment section, and we'll be happy to help you out. So, guys, thank you a lot for joining us this morning. Please tell us more about your company, about yourself, and let's start the conversation.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having us. We're super excited. Again, my name is Sheikha, and I'm the co-founder and head of sales at Interlix Staffing. And this is Sebastian, who's also the co-founder and CEO of Interlix Staffing. So to give you guys a little background, we're a staffing and recruitment firm that provides highly talented remote professionals and software developers that are based out of Latin America, but work remotely for companies in the United States on a contract basis with a US-based company, but they have remote employees based in Latin America. So for us at Interlix Staffing, our primary focus is quality, providing quality and being very stringent and strategic with our vetting and recruitment process. We recruit from top multinational firms, but it allows us to provide the highest of quality, highest of experience, and then they work for US-based companies, and it's a lot more cost-effective.
Well, yeah, and first of all, thank you, Victor and Indiana, for the introduction and for having the time to be with us on a Saturday morning. But yeah, we fully focus on remote staffing. Me myself, I was born in Ecuador, so that's where it comes the Latin American connection. But yeah, we focus on remote staffing for remote professionals and developers in Latam.
Awesome. Sounds like you already have things, moving in the right direction. So this is going to be exciting stuff, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start with some questions that you have. I know you guys prepared a few. What would be your first question that you want to discuss?
Yes, I think I like the first time I met Victor, he told me about this. He told me you are in the staffing and recruitment industry and you are now working with government contracts, and that kind of blew my mind. And then I kept meeting people in New York City that told me the same stuff. And we, in August, is going to be our second year in business. So we are approaching the second year, and this is something I haven't touched yet, and many people have been telling me about. So I would love to learn more ways I can get in and kind of just the entire process, because that's something new to me. I have worked with nonprofits, but I have never kind of got into the step of working with government contracts.
This is actually a fantastic topic and a fantastic question, and I'm going to kind of take you through it in a stepped way. Okay. If you look at from the standpoint of view, there's different kinds of government contracting. There's local government, right? Towns, municipalities, right? There's state government contracting, which is also a different line. And then there's federal government contracting. Okay. They're all governments, but they're at different stages of governments. And the acquisition, processes are similar, but different. So have you done any kind of government contract? Like have you done work with a township or municipality, like a town or anything like that?
No, not of yet, but we do have I have more of a specific question with how would it work as the talent is remote in Latin America, but they're working for a US based government type of business.
Okay, great question. A lot of that has to do with what branch of the government they're working for. Okay, if they're working for a branch of the government that requires certain certain clearances and things like that, that is something that would be, because let's face it, the federal government does work with people all around the world, and it has people working with them all around the world. That's the federal government. Local governments, maybe not as much, but there are mechanisms in place for that, because talent, as you well know, you can call up any, you can call up any major company from American Express to Avis or anybody else, and the people answering the phones are, in different places around the world, and all of those types of things. So those things are set up from a contractual standpoint of view. And listening to what you said in your introduction is that quality is an important part for you, and you're dealing with people that are of a higher level, and these are people that are going to be, educated to the degree that need to be educated for whatever the particular job is. You will be able to have that as part of the contractual arrangement. The beautiful thing about government contracting is they tell you ad nauseum all of the details that you need in order to do work with them. Okay, unlike a regular company, they may leave things out. The federal government doesn't leave anything out. Local government doesn't leave anything out. They tell you, this is a contract. This is what we need. This is what we're looking for. These are the hours. This is what we're willing to pay. Blah, 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 blah. It's from that aspect, it's clear. There's clarity there, So what, my journey, I began doing government contracting, back in, I guess, in the late 80s. But it was local, it was with my local town, and then I did some city stuff, and then I ultimately ended up doing the travel guide for the state of New Jersey. So that was a state contract. That was probably my first significant state contract, because that was, a state's travel guide, of which there are not, you have to bid on it, and there's all kinds of, nuances there. I got to tell you, it was not an easy process, but it was not only educational. Ultimately, I did make money. I didn't make money in my first year. I actually made money in my second year. But it was a very, very eye-opening experience. And I'm going to give you, for instance, what I mean by eye-opening experience. When you think about contracting, the first thing you would think about is, okay, I'm going to do a contract and they're going to pay me X amount of money, right, for the contract. I've won the contract, okay, and I'm going to have X amount of money be paid for me for my goods or services, whatever the case may be. In this particular instance, for the travel guide for the state of New Jersey, it is a non-compensatory contract, okay? Meaning the state doesn't pay me anything.
Yeah. Okay?
I get paid by the advertising that I raise to put in the state's visitor's guide. So I made my money based upon the advertising sold in the guide, and I had to sell enough to pay for the production and its distribution. Well, more the production than the distribution. And all of the people who work for me and the writers and all that stuff had to be in that budget. So what I was actually bidding on was how many magazines or books I was willing to deliver to the state for free, essentially. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the reason why that was a desirable contract is because it was a state's travel guide. And yes, the state does help you. They will help you in opening up, opportunities for potential advertisers. Then they certainly assist in distribution. Plus, it's a great way to meet people, which takes us to what we're actually talking about today, which one of the things we're talking about today, which is networking and integration. One of the reasons I wanted that contract was because it gave me access to the governor. Okay. It gave me access to the governor. McGreevy was the governor at the time of New Jersey. And being the publisher of the state's travel guide, which is at the time the face of tourism for the state, or one of the tools for tourism for the state, I got access to all these people. I got access to the director of marketing. I got access to the governor's office. I got access to all these people, which helped me in growing my other businesses. Okay. So one of the things that I've always looked at is, what are the layers that are beneficial for the things that you engage in? And it's not necessarily only the contract. It's where the contract can lead you. What doors might the contract open for you? So that's one instance. Mm-hmm. Now, I think you were, Sebastian, you were asking about, I think, more leaning toward federal contracting. Am I correct?
We were thinking even local contract, just because it could be very, like, in Massachusetts to Florida, like I said, New Jersey. But my question is, how do we insert ourselves into that world?
Because
first thing you're going to want to do is get certified as a minority vendor.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys have 2 boxes checked already. All right. Actually, you have 3 boxes checked because you have a female who's a minority and a male who's a minority. So you actually can count as 2, okay, being female. So
And would you
you
say
want to register for the states that you're interested in doing business with. And let's say if you're going to stay in Boston, this is just for instance, if you're going to stay in Massachusetts, you can get registered as a minority business in Massachusetts, and the Massachusetts will give you a certification for that. Those certifications are relatively easy. Okay. And when I mean easy, you seem like, I'm not into your books or anything like that, but you guys seem like you're buttoned up. Okay. You seem like you understand business and you seem like you know what you're doing. What they're going to look for is they're going to ask, it's a questionnaire. They're going to ask you information. They're going to ask you information about your business. They're going to ask you plenty of information about your ethnicity. Okay. I mean, when I got recertified a few months ago, and I've been certified as a minority vendor for a long time, for the first time, they actually asked me for my passport picture. And I was like, okay. And the reason for that was I put on my application, which I haven't done for the last 25 years, that I was African American. But they actually wanted a picture because the person who was reviewing it was like, well, he could be Hispanic, or he could be Dominican, or he could be, okay. So it was very interesting. So they asked me for that, which the reason I'm sharing that with you is that they are getting a little bit more focused on making sure that people are who they say they are and that they're not, posing or anything like that. But the certification would be the first step, because you want to be certified as a minority vendor, because that's also going to give you, at least for the time being, it's going to give you an opportunity, and people are going to say, well, wait, if everything is equal, quality, price, everything's equal, and you're a minority vendor, you're going to get the contract.
That's amazing.
Interesting. Yeah, I have been, like I said before, having kind of researching more into this specific, form of contracting and, working with clients. And yeah, they told me it's kind of like if there's like a line, it pulls you to the front of the line, having these certifications and going with that. So our LLC is based out of Florida. Does that has any constriction? I think you need to have more than your LLC or something like that. But
you can be certified in any town, state, municipality that you want to get certified in. Now, you want to obviously, in your case, you're going to want to start quote unquote at home. You might as well get certified in Florida. Okay, that's what you want to do. Where your location becomes, see, some jurisdictions do want you to be in that state. Okay, they all say, I did a partnering with somebody not too long ago, and they had to be in that state because they were the prime, and they subcontracted to me. That they had to be in the state. I didn't have to be in the state. Okay, and we're going to talk about subcontracting down the road a little bit. But I didn't have to be in the state, but they had to be in the state. Now, with federal government contracts, that all goes away. Okay, because you can be anywhere in the United States, and well, really, you can almost be anywhere in the world, but because there are federal contractors who are not here in the United States. But you can have that's an open type thing. You don't have to worry about where you're located or where you started your business. That's a national play. Federal contracting is a national play. There are sites, and I'll put some together for you after this. And Deanna, I know you'll take a note on this. I'll give you some sites that are, I'll call them open to the public government sites, meaning you can go on those sites. If you are a legitimate business in the United States of America, you can go to the sites and see the kind of contracting the kind of contracts that are available. Okay. You would go on those sites. You can look at it. They're public and you can bid on them. Here's the issue. It's a great place for you to learn about contracting, whether it be government or local or whatever, because it's a great place for education. But because they're open contracts, everybody and their grandmother's grandmother can bid on them. Okay. Your competition is the United States of America, right? If you get, now we're going to take a little step here, which is back to a certification area. If you get, let's say, a GSA schedule And are either of you familiar with GSA?
No.
No.
GSA is the General Services Administration. If you don't write down anything, write that down. Because GSA is the government. I'm going to use the word certification for the sake of our conversation. That is your key to government contracting within your line of business. So what's going to happen is when you get your GSA schedule, and it's not easy, okay? There's a process involved. It's really like a proctology exam. It's quite intrusive, okay? All right. They get into your finances, they get into your personal finances, tax returns, everything. But once you get certified and you get a SIN number, which is called a special identification number, that means in your case, you guys would be certified in staffing, okay? And that means that the government has vetted you and you are now eligible to go after other contracts with every facet of the federal government, from IRS to DOL to everybody and a grandmother's grandmother. You can actually go after that business. Now, there's a strategy in which to do that, which is a completely separate call, because you don't want to go after everybody's business because you will lose your mind, okay? Because it's such a vast array of departments to do business with. But with a SIN number and with a GSA schedule, and here's the reason why this is so important. Once you have a GSA, if you do not have a GSA, you cannot see the contracts that are on the GSA website. You must be a GSA holder to see those contracts, which means your competition went from 5,000 to maybe 5. Okay, or 10, because the public, the general public, don't even know those contracts exist.
Interesting.
GSA holder to see it.
Yeah. So I think that's like our first step. I think the green light for me is getting certified as a minority company and then starting the process for the GSA. Because
and what I can do offline for you. There are a couple of companies that I've worked with in the past that actually help you with your GSA, because like I said, I'll share a little story with you. Myself and my 2 partners in my previous business, and my partners were actually mentors as well. They're the most magnificent women in the world. We decided that we were going to get a GSA schedule. Okay. And there's 3 of us now. There's 3 partners who are pretty intelligent people. And we started, embarking on the process, and we're like, we had a partners meeting. We're like, okay, we're going to hire somebody to do this. This is a freaking nightmare. Okay. So we got partway there and we supplied all the information. And then we're like, look, we need somebody to help us with this because this is just a lot. So it's really good to consult someone who does that type of thing. They can help streamline it. They can help you get together the right papers and the right things and tell you what they need from you. And then you let them go and put that all together, because it can be an arduous process.
Okay.
Yes, so we have, I'm sorry for interrupting. We have a comment from John Sanchez, and he says that he's an expert in minority business opportunities.
Great.
Yeah, so if he's offering you guys to call him, and his number is in the comments, in the comment section for our stream posts. So definitely check it out. And John, thank you a lot for providing these opportunities.
Well, John,
we're going to connect right after this. We're going to connect.
And that's what this is about. That's what this is about.
It's like the same when April comes around and you have to do your taxes and you're like, no, I don't want to hire anyone. It's going to be expensive. And then you do it and you're like, I need help. I can't.
I always use that example. It's like the person who's, on trial and their lawyers tell them, look, you really shouldn't testify. And then they wonder why they're in jail, because I told you not to testify. Okay. If you hire a professional, listen to their advice.
Yeah, that's so true.
So you just, Victor, just to get it straight, the GSA is not a requirement to get government contracts, but it basically
no, it is not. And great question, and I want to clarify that you do not have to be a GSA holder to do business directly with the federal government. You do not. The only thing is that it helps you tremendously with competition. Okay, because at any given time, and think about this for a second, at any given time, there may be several divisions within the government who are looking for staffing, okay, external staffing. And they may post things publicly, but if they post it on a GSA, through GSA, they're looking for very specific things. And they know that every single person who sees that post is already vetted. They don't have to take any chances. Here's one thing that you're going to want to realize is that, and I think this is true for government as well as private sector, purchasing agents do not want to take chances. There's no reason to take chances. If a purchasing agent hires Xerox to handle their copying work, as opposed to a company that may be far more qualified, may be very qualified and have all of the other things and bells and whistles and personalized service and everything else, they're not going to get in trouble for going with Xerox. But if they go with that other company and something happens, the first question is, why the hell didn't you go with Xerox? Okay. So you've got to realize that there's this preconceived notion from a purchasing agent that the last thing they want is to create headaches for themselves. So if you're already vetted, that lowers their possibility of having an issue with you because they already know you've been checked out.
Mhm.
Awesome.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
All right. Perfect. And so just to get it straight, because like I said before, I'm like a little kid when it comes to government
No,
contracts.
this is what we want. We want to make sure you get everything you need.
So in terms of, okay, the certification, the GSA, but apart from kind of like the open public where you can see all the government contracts, is there any other methods of kind of like getting these contracts that is not through like the open source one?
Okay, man, you're the best. You ask the questions just in the right order that they should be asked. You're the man. One of the things that you're going to want to do, and here's a mistake that many people who get certified, and specifically people who get GSA schedules, they think once they get a GSA schedule, their phone's going to start to ring. No, it won't. Okay. Mm-hmm. What GSA does is it gives you the opportunity and it opens the door. You have to market like you always have. Okay. So what I did when we got our GSA schedule and we started to try to bid on some contracts, I then went to Washington and spent time in Washington walking the halls, shaking people's hands, getting to know who they were, finding out the kinds of things that they were looking for from a contractor, okay, and opening up those opportunities. Now, interesting thing about government contracting is you have to be careful about your interaction with purchasing agents and things like that because of there can't be any potentially improprieties. So you can't give them anything. You can't give them gifts. You can't take them to a ball game. You can't do the stuff that you might do with a regular client. Okay. So you have to pretty much go to them or attend the events that are GSA or government contracting events. Okay. Of which there are many. And I'm sure John Sanchez will be able to guide you in different areas that you can start to where, kind of where you are and ways in which you can open up opportunities for those kinds of things. But you want to make sure that you are marketing like you have never marketed before. Okay. Because GSA does not mean you just got the keys to the piggy bank. No. And a lot of GSA holders make that mistake. And here's another problem or another issue, I shouldn't say problem with GSA. If in fact you do not get a contract over a certain period of time, and they change it, I forgot how long it is. If you get a GSA schedule and you don't do business, they take your GSA schedule away. And if you ever want it again, you have to start from the beginning.
Wow.
Okay. And the reason they do that is because they don't want people holding GSA schedules who aren't actively marketing to the federal government and actively looking for contracts. They will help you. They will steer you in certain ways. You can get debriefings. Like when you don't get a contract, you can request a debriefing and they will tell you why you didn't get it. So you can fix it the next time around.
Interesting. I think this is great. This is, my opening, because like most of our business has been through, I would say, just kind of like to give you like a split, I would say 70% is just through our outbound system, which is, going to networking events, a lot of LinkedIn outreach and other different like email marketing. And then the 30% has been just, referrals from our clients or clients coming back, looking for new placements within the placement that we have done. So kind of like this opens like a new way of us acquiring clients and more than that, making new placements. So yeah, thank you for like all the information.
Yeah. And one last question I have on this too is that, when I used to give talks about this, I would say, this is, once you discover GSA, it's like you've been living on this planet over here. Okay. You got a planet, right? And you get involved in GSA and you're like, holy crap, I didn't even know there was a whole nother world on the other side. Okay. That's the bridge to the whole other world that you never even knew was there. And one question I have for the two of you, and it might be early in your evolution, but what's your overall plan for the business? Meaning, do you plan to grow the business and sell it? Or do you plan to grow the business, stay in it? Do you plan to grow the business and pass it on to, children? Or what do you think your plan is for your business? Do you want to sell it or what?
Well, in here we have different, I would say kind of like disagreement between me and Sheikha. So I'm kind of like with the perspective, I want to grow the business, become the best staffing and recruitment firm when it comes to remote staffing, and then exit the business out. Well, Sheikha wants to, I don't know, you can say your opinion.
I do want to become the best and biggest staffing and recruitment firm for talent in Latin America. And I think that it's a no-brainer. And the companies that we're competing with are not as good as us, I would have to say. And for me, it's just grow it and continue to grow it and continue to staff. And goal is like contracts and deals with major companies that already have these same contracts and deals with companies in India and Pakistan. So okay. Meta already does this, Google already does this. So these big tech companies specifically, and even in all of corporate America in New York City, their IT teams based in India. AT&T, Comcast customer service, they're in the Philippines. So that's our goal. That's my goal.
Like we're still like in the talks. So we haven't gotten there yet, but kind of like, the mission would be, I would say, kind of like we are in the same mission of growing the business. That's where we kind of like, I'm like thinking maybe of exiting the business while Sheikha wants to continue to stay in the business. But let's go with the exiting just to see, I want to see your perspective.
Okay, what I'm about to say can work either way, okay, because it's a value proposition. Something else about GSA, which is a very unique feature. You have a GSA schedule and you now are doing government contracting and you have a very good recommendation level with the people that you're doing business with, okay? And because they will review you every year, okay, on your performance of what you're doing and everything, okay, with the various people that you're doing business with. Here's the reason why this is so beautiful. The GSA schedule itself has value, because if you decide to sell your business and you have a GSA schedule and you have contracts already in place, you have now given the people who are buying your business a guaranteed runway, okay, that you may have a 5-year contract and you may be selling your business and there's 2 years or 3 years left on that contract. That's guaranteed business, okay? The two things they have to do is they have to keep the name of your business, and your history goes along with the name of that business. So a GSA is actually an asset, okay? A tangible asset, okay? Because the actual track record you have accumulated is actually a value proposition. Because the person who buys your business doesn't have to get a GSA. It comes along with the business. And the GSA is not attached to you. It's attached to the business. So it's a value proposition of epic proportions. And the only reason I'm telling you that and making that a point on this conversation is because the previous business that I had, my other marketing company, we had a GSA and the GSA went along with the business, but there were contracts in place already that allowed that the person who bought the business was interested in those contracts and had a cushion to know that they could perpetuate and continue to market, and they already had existing contracts and existing contacts and things like that. It's a much more valuable proposition because selling a business is so difficult. You two are going to say, okay, our business is X, Y, and Z. You'll look at EBITDA, you'll look at, what the value proposition of your business is, but then there's the emotional part of it. I built this thing from scratch and I think it's worth $10 million. Okay. I put love and care and hugged it and kissed it and everything else. It's worth $10 million. Somebody's going to look at it. They're going to look at the numbers. They're going to look at what the projections are. And they're going to say, you think it's worth $10 million. I'll give you 3. Okay. All right. Because your feeling about your business has no bearing about the worth of your business. But a GSA schedule is a tangible, viable thing that has value.
And Victor, yeah, just my last question for government.
Sure.
So how long does it take
Yeah,
to
that's what I was
like
gonna ask.
get a
The process,
yeah,
would you say?
yeah, like how long? What's
If
kind of
we
Process-
did hire,
I think they've streamlined getting GSA since, I did it back in the old days. It was a little bit, the time process was a little bit more, and technology wasn't as up to date as it is now. So you can actually get them the information and they can vet you a lot quicker than they could then, because there was more manual stuff that went on. So I don't know what it is now, but it's probably going to be a few months, could be up to 6 months.
yeah, it's better for us to start the process honestly now, as early as
What you want to, there's a couple of things you want to do, and I think John can probably help you, because if he's somebody who's involved in minority and government contracting and things like that, he'll know. You want to start doing your homework now, start to look at what you need to have in place, start to look at what they're going to ask you for. I don't know what the thresholds are of how many years you need to be in business now to get a GSA, because they do change through the years. And they also may make special provisions for, like I said, particular minority companies or things or verticals that they're interested in that they have very few people who are certified, who have GSA schedules. They may look, we don't have this and we want this, so we're going to make some exceptions.
Okay.
Yeah, John also made a comment that he did a few government contractors through the years, and he's recommending to hire a consultant because it's going to help tremendously to find work.
It is. It absolutely is. It's definitely, it's a major tool in your war chest to go after this kind of business. Do I say you ignore the other types of business that you're going after? Absolutely not. Okay. You need to make sure that, but this can be such a stabilizing factor in your business, because the government gives you contracts. When I mean contracts, they're multiple year. They could be 3 to 5 year contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So you could start to plan with that. If you know you have a 3 to 5 year contract, you know what your cash flow is going to be. You can plan.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to be making from that contract for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very, very powerful position to be in.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like ASAP, because it makes so much sense. And where we're at right now, we are growing from just 2 years. The amount of placements that we've done and hires, I think that we hit the ground running. Because some people, when they start a company, I would say it's like the coming up with the idea phase, and that can last 6 months to a year, maybe even 2 years, where they haven't even made any money. I would say that after the first couple months, the first client, the idea phase happened, obviously evolved to so much to what it is now. Every business does, but I just look back at our growth, and I think that we were just started selling, and then we were already growing. I would say, obviously we learned, and we were okay, these type of clients are good. These type of clients aren't ideal. Figuring out that, it's even vetting the clients and seeing, okay, who's the right fit for us, and changing our brand, our name, and all of those things. So yeah, and Sebastian's also building his personal brand as well, has his own podcast that has helped so much with building our own company.
Yeah.
So
no, yeah, I would say, I think for us, just because staffing, we don't have any, it's not like any other type of business where let's say we have a product, we have inventory. It was easier for us to kind of start a business and see if it worked at the early stages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's smart. And look, we've said this before, and you know it, and Deanna and I've talked about it. people do business with, even the big companies, because at the end of the day, you're still doing business with an individual. Somebody has to make a decision on whether or not to hire you. Okay. And I think a lot of companies, big and small, forget this, what I'm about to say. There's always a person at the end of the road behind making a decision on whether or not you're going to be their vendor. Okay. And people tend to do business with people that they like. Okay. And once you understand that, and you mentioned it before too, is that, you decided on ones, you were already seeing ones that would be better clients and ones that would not so be better, not be the best clients, but you will get business based upon, in many cases, when you're out there doing it, likability, approachability, and of course you've got to deliver your product, good, or service. And I remember when I started out, I have clients still that I've had for 25 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
Now
wonderful.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you, there are other people who do what I do. There are other people who do marketing and advertising and promotions and publishing. I am not the only dude who does that. Okay. So there has to be a reason why they're staying, and they're staying because we built a friendship, we built mutual relationships, and we like each other.
Mhm.
Right. There you go. So those are going to be some of your key advocates. And what dovetails into that whole idea of what you were talking about, networking and marketing and sales, is utilizing those people who you already know are happy with you as a business and as a person. We are out there, we marketers and sales folks make a big mistake about not asking the people who we already know love us to refer us to other people like them. And we forget to ask. We're always hustling for the next new introduction.
Mhm.
Screw the new introduction. You want to get it from somebody who already knows you, who can go in there and say, hey,
Yeah.
these guys did a killer job for me, and I think they might be a good fit for you. Can they call you? That's it. You want that all freaking day long,
Mhm.
as opposed to, dialing for dollars or buckshot or just shooting out and trying to find whoever you can get who's going to talk to you. That's why I really always urge people to fold back into the people that they know, back into the organizations that they know, because those people also have a vested interest in your success. They want to see you succeed because they are doing business with you already.
Mhm. Very true.
Yeah, that's very eye-opening. Yeah, that's true, man.
Mhm.
Just going to the clients that are happy with the service, with the clients that already have placements done for them, and I think for referrals. Yeah.
And you know what? They're happy to do it most of the time. And the key is to ask them for one or two.
Mhm.
Okay. Don't ask them, you know what? Could you give me 20 referrals? That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Could I get one or two? Because they're like, well, shoot, I can do that now. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. There you go. Hey, there you go. There's those two folks. And you know what? I'll pop them a note and let them know you're going to call. They're done. That's a 5-second ask.
Mhm.
Okay. And they can do it real quick, and you're not giving them an onerous thing to do. I had people who used to tell me, well, yeah, I asked for 20 referrals and I didn't get anybody to call you back. I said, who the hell's going to sit down and give you 20 referrals? Unless they're not doing anything. What are you asking, retirees? I mean, if they're running a business, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They're just not going to do it. So you ask them for something that's easy to do,
Mhm.
and they'll feel honored that you're asking them.
Mhm.
Yeah, we also have a comment from John that you should join a chamber of commerce. Recently we did a post on Vic's page about our several chambers from New Jersey. So you can take a look and see. And we also have a question from Neil Schaefer, who is asking if profit and loss statement would be beneficial or required for these government contracts.
For GSA, yeah, they are, because they want to know that you have the ability, the means, and the ability to fulfill contracts. So if you're going to get a contract and it is a large contract, they want to know where you're going to fall if you're a small business, medium-sized business, or a large business. Now, there's some ways around that, okay? So listen closely. The other thing that the federal government and other contracting entities really like is when companies partner. Okay.
Mhm.
So now you can have a prime subcontract to you. Okay. You are now part of that contract, and they're subcontracting, and their crumbs could be your cakes. Trust me. Okay. Some of these big companies who have government contracts, there's stuff that's in those contracts that they don't even want to do. So they're looking for partners, okay, to slough that stuff off to. And in a minute, I'm going to give you an example, so you can really visualize what I'm talking about. But yes, they do want profit and loss statements. And if your company has all of the qualifications, but not the financial means, you can partner with another company that does. So let me give you, for instance, one of the ways I met one of the most amazing people throughout my career is a gentleman by the name of James Orsini. He used to be at Saatchi & Saatchi in Manhattan, the big advertising agency. And they were going after a big government contract. And ironically enough, which was really because they're so big, they didn't really need it. They were going after contracts, but they actually didn't have a GSA schedule, and we did. Okay. So this was a very unique situation. We went in on a pitch with them as the prime because we had the GSA schedule, and them as the subcontractor, because there would not have been a snowball chance in hell that we would have been able to fulfill the contract if we had gotten it, because we didn't have the infrastructure of a Saatchi & Saatchi, a multinational advertising agency, okay, and marketing company. So we were actually the prime, and they were the subcontractor. Okay. Now, ultimately, we didn't get that particular contract, but my eyeballs were like, woo, okay, this whole subcontracting thing is monstrous. The other angle is to also look for bigger companies who are looking for partners to subcontract to, because you check a box. They want those businesses to do business with smaller companies, so your small company becomes a big company. And they actually pressure for real these big companies to do business with smaller companies. And I'll give you one last instance of this. So McCann Erickson, New York City, I was talking to them about the promotional products because I have a promotional products business, right? So I'm talking about promotional products, premiums and incentives. And then we go in and we talk and we meet all these folks, and they're, being really sweet to us, but they never gave us anything, nothing. So we called our contractor in Washington, D.C., our consultant, and said, look, we know that these guys have a 4% mandate from the federal government to do 4% of their business with minority and small businesses. But we're not getting any work, and they're woefully behind their quotas. What's going on here? He actually called the president of the agency and said, look, dude, you've got an overly qualified company here. Find them something to do. 3 weeks later, we got a contract. Okay, because they are mandated to do business with small companies who are qualified. So these are other ways, and I think John will attest to the fact, and I was so glad he brought up, having a consultant and having people who are working on your behalf, because they will help you navigate those waters and really shorten that time period of you actually acquiring your first contract. Once you get your first contract, it's like kicking the door open, baby. You'll learn so much, and you'll start building your track record.
That's amazing.
No, amazing.
Well,
I
super
didn't even
excited.
know about this subcontracting. So
Yeah.
now that I know about subcontracting, that's something I will.
It's getting the wheels turning.
Yeah.
Because being a subcontractor, you don't even have to be. You don't have to do all it. You can subcontract to somebody who already has a GSA schedule.
Yeah.
And you become part of their contract.
So, question from me: how to find those people who are in need to subcontract you? Do you just network and talk to people?
Network
and
is part of it. Again, I think I'm going to point you to John a little bit, and also I can help as well. There are sites that will tell you who are looking for subcontractors, and GSA holders will tell you, that they're looking for certain GSA holders are looking for subcontractors. What's an interesting thing is that you may have, and I think you mentioned it earlier in our conversation, that there are verticals that are like any other business. There's verticals that are better than other verticals, right? I mean, let's just call it like it is. So you look at that vertical that's a hot one for you, and then find bigger companies, okay, that would potentially be playing in that vertical, and you can reach out to them directly, and say, hey guys, we are a certified minority vendor. This is what we do. This is our resources. We got boots on the street. We got, we're rocking and rolling. And you probably are doing, there's probably stuff there you don't even want to do. Okay. Because we used to get contracts of stuff that people, they didn't want to do it. I got a premium promotional product from the United States Army, and it was probably somewhere north of $375,000. And the company that had it didn't even want to do it. They're like, this is annoying because it's a multi-billion-dollar contract. They're like, look, we can subcontract. We don't want to do this. So, it was a big deal for us, but it was nothing to them. It's like, when you're doing multi-billion-dollar contracts, it's $300,000. It's an annoyance. It's a rounding error. So that's the difference.
Interesting. I think, if anything, we can go to the next question that we had.
Sure.
So, as you probably know, Victor, and as you heard, Sheikha, we are very into networking. We do attend a lot of networking events. We have been to a couple Xbox conference as well. So I wanted to ask, from the expert himself, in regards to like networking events, how do you think it's finding the correct ones? Because obviously there's some events where the quality of people perhaps is not or maybe it's not the fit for what you're looking for, or the people that you're trying to meet and the introduction. So from your experience, what's kind of the best way of acquiring this network, specific networking events that can grow your network? And more than anything, like I said before, we're very young founders, so we're trying to meet people that can give us that wisdom and knowledge so that we can learn. Like right now, I had no idea about government contracting, and I just learned so much from just the pure fact of us networking.
Mm-hmm. Where I would start with that, because it's the educational aspect of it and dealing with people who are interested in helping you be educated, as well as actual getting business from it as well. You can do that, concurrently. It doesn't have to be consecutively. What I mean by that is I would absolutely, and I think John mentioned it earlier in his question or his comment, was chambers of commerce. I would start with the Chamber of Commerce. And the reason why I would start with chambers of commerce is because the executive directors and the people who are running chambers of commerce, their job, aside from lobbying, okay, let's forget about the political part for a minute. Aside from the lobbying part, which you're not necessarily interested in, their job is to connect their members with other members. Okay, so you can go onto that website right after you become a member, and you go to a mixer, you go to an event, whatever, and then you go into the website and you're like, wow, I want to do business with this company and this company and this company and this company. You reach out to the chamber and they will facilitate those introductions for you. They will pick up the phone and say, hey, another member wants to meet you. This is what they do. They're gonna meet with you, because that's what a chamber is for. Okay, they're actually your advocate to opening the door to getting into companies that are directly the kind that you want to get into. So chambers of commerce help you. The reason why I like them so much is that they help you sift through the noise, because you can look at who's a member and know that these are the people that you want to talk to. And you can also see them prior to joining to see if they're the kind of members you want to be talking to, right? So you're saving a lot of time. That's the chamber side of it. Events themselves, usually, there's some caveats to what I'm about to say, but usually the events that you have to pay to attend usually attract higher level people, because they have to pay to be there. Okay. And that's one way that people use, they use to kind of weed out the riffraff, so to speak, weed out the people who are not necessarily going to be, great networkers or optimum companies, or small, too small, that they're not serious business people. They're just coming there to, chatter. I hold an event annually, which is free. The event's free, but I hold it at a very high end place. I have live entertainment. I have, all kinds of different things going on. I have very, very high end event, and it's by invitation. So if you get an invitation, you have to respond to it. You have to say you're going to come. And if you don't come and you say you're going to come, I can take you off the list. And you have to then come to me and tell me, hey, it's one thing if you can't come and you let us know. That's not a problem. But it's people who sign up for something and they don't come. Well, through the years, because this, I guess, is the 13th year that I've done it, through the years, people actually are waiting for this event. I've created something that they're actually waiting for. And we do anywhere from 600 to 750 people. Okay. And of that, half of them are decision makers within the businesses that they are, there for. Organizations, colleges, universities, nonprofits, for-profits, you name it, they're in the room. Okay. Those are the kinds of events that you want to seek out as well. High quality events. You don't necessarily have to pay all the time, but you want to make sure that the event is quality, because a quality event will attract quality people.
That's so true. Well, definitely. When do you host this event? Is my question.
It just passed. I used to do it in October, but I moved it this year because of COVID and all kinds. Because I haven't had it in years. I hadn't had it in 3.5, 4 years. And I brought it back, and we did. I think the count was like 700 people. We ended up.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it was a wonderful. And we can send you. Deanna can send you some info on it, and we also have some video from it too, so you can see what it really is. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. You can see what it actually is. And those, I get so much. For me, what I get out of an event like that, and this really goes back to your question, by the way, is being a catalyst to other people meeting each other and doing business, even though they're not doing business directly with me, ultimately benefits me. Okay? Because both of those people now equate their relationship to me. And that will flourish somewhere down the road, that they'll come across something that they're doing. They're like, you know what? Vic hooked me up with X, Y, and Z. And now, oh my God, this is something that would be perfect for him. And they call me. I've had people who I haven't heard from in 5 years, and they call me and they're like, Vic, I got the perfect thing for you. Pipeline, pack the pipeline. You don't know when it's coming out the other end, but you got to keep on packing the pipeline. And then all of a sudden, when it's packed tight enough, they fall out every day. Okay. But you got to put in the upfront in order to get the payoff. People slow down, and you don't want to slow down.
Neil Schaefer says that he attended the event and he picked up a client.
That's amazing.
I rest my case. It's almost as if I planned that. Love you, Neil. It's almost as if I planned that. But
we'll send you the payment.
That's what I'm talking. But see, that's what I'm talking about. And Neil's on this call because he probably feels that there might be a value proposition there, because he and I have, our paths have crossed, we talk, that kind of thing. You can't build relationships and build value propositions without being, this is a full contact sport. You got to be in it.
Yeah.
You got to be in it.
We're all about nurturing relationships. So we've seen it. Like, we're meeting with someone, we're building a relationship like over a year ago, and then it becomes a client next month. So we've experienced it for sure, and it's been great.
And I'm very like old school in that sense. Obviously, we're like the young generation, but I'm very old school. I love meeting in person. Sometimes when I'm in New York City, I have driven all the way back to Boston.
Yeah, vice versa.
Yeah, just to sit down for a coffee and have that in person. Yeah, because I feel like just knowing that person, having that face-to-face interaction, and probably
there's so much you learn face-to-face. One, you're not distracted. You're face-to-face. That's one.
Yeah.
Two, body language, expressions, all of those things you can learn while you're with somebody. You can't learn it on a phone call. You can't learn it on a Zoom call, because, look, you can get on these Zoom calls, you get on a Zoom call and they're, they take their camera off and they're feeding their cat, they're, walking their dog or whatever the hell they're doing. And you're like, wait a minute, they can't possibly be focused on this conversation, that kind of thing. And when you're with somebody, I ask them, I say, look, turn off your phone. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah.
And going with obviously us being young founders, and obviously I'm 22, Shake is 21. Our other partner, who is our head recruiter, he's 34. He's like the grandpa.
He's an old man.
Yeah, he's the grandpa in the team, but he's based out of Venezuela, so he's like he's not in the United States with us. but obviously kind of like all of our clients, all of the interactions with us, we are like young. So my other question was, how can we leverage the fact that we are young founders to kind of like, because sometimes people do not take us too seriously, because obviously we, I have a baby face, I have no hair. So how can we use being young as a leverage for us in our business and in our personal life overall?
Great question. And because obviously there was a day when I was young as well. When I started my business, so I was kind of in the same position you were in. How I've always kind of flipped that around, and the way you asked that question was very astute, because you wanted to know how you can make that a value proposition and not something that's going to be a negative. And the value proposition is that we are on the front lines of innovation. Okay, we are looking for, hungry for, and have been exposed to all kinds of innovation that you might not have been able to look at, absorb, all of those things. We are here to make sure that you have the cutting edge service, technology, and the things that we're doing in our space. And that comes with being young, hungry, educated, and focused. We have the energy, so you don't have to exert yours.
That's good. That's good. I'm adding that to my sales pitch.
Okay, that is the value proposition. And I talk to so many young people who teach me things every day. I teach at Rutgers Business School as a guest professor, because I'm intrinsically lazy and I'm not doing a whole curriculum. But when I do teach and they come to me with questions after classes and things like that, I learn things from them. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that was a problem. You know what I mean? And I'm learning because I'm not in that space. Yeah. And that's what you can bring to your clients, your potential clients, and your existing clients.
No, perfect. And especially because like the remote work is something that has been, since COVID, it kind of like took off. And that's, where we are. We're in a very innovative space, which is remote work.
Yeah, it's cool. I think you're in a great spot. And I think you both, from the conversations that we've had today, and I know we only have 2 minutes left, I know from this conversation, you are going to be wildly successful. And when you're taking on investment, let me know, because you guys are going places for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you making the time on Saturday morning to meet with us and working around our schedule. I appreciate that. And like having people be like able to watch this right now is like truly amazing, and like learning so much. And I think the government contracts, first step for us. So
great. And then as you go, definitely reach out to John, and then certainly reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to continue, supporting that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I hope we can meet in person one day, sooner rather than later.
That's for sure. You're not far. That's easy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching us this morning. I love having our streams, and as we keep doing that, I find that we provide more and more value to people, and this stream has so much energy. I love the energy that you guys provided, and Victor, thank you for all the information and your experience. Sure. I hope to do more streams like that over the next couple of months. So guys, for anyone who is watching it, if you want to be a guest, if you have questions for your business related to networking, marketing, advertising, small business ownership, what else, like anything, reach out to us. You have our Vic's page, and you can DM Vic, or you can email us at vmn@victormnichols.com. We'll be happy to talk to you and have a stream with you too.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Diana, and thank you so much, Victor, for all the knowledge and wisdom.
My pleasure. We'll talk soon then.
We'll keep you updated.
Please do.
Yeah.
I would take a photo the first time we get our government contracts.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.